And Kalista or the Kaisa would be the mainstay for Y4. I think Kalista works best.
Okay. Well, you mentioned also, if you're talking about xiaohan and Max, Max was a really big Yuumi player last year. And when he was on this roster, the Yuumi Olaf was a bit of a priority. And it's something that's been really successful in this region before. So I'd love to see him go back to one of his comforts, especially a champion he's well known for.
And Y4 has a decent Ezreal as well, so could potentially see the Ezreal Yuumi bot lane. That's not going to be the case though. xiaohan is going to lock in the Jarvan. Now this does leave open the potential for CLX to go for something like the Rumble, or even have Mole take that up towards the top side. But we'll see what they decide to go for in that last pick. Over on FPX's side though, the Echo hovered here. This means, look, Tian is just going to flex. It is a flex, but Tian, if he does take it into the jungle, is just going, look, we know V5 aren't going to do anything for the first 6, 7, 8 levels, so we can just take the Echo, scale up, and then look to play. But Tian says, go away with that. We want another sub-20-minute game.
And when you get his Lee Sin is a speciality as special as the Elise is. So we get 2 of his best picks here in this series, and if it ends here, people will be pretty happy to see Tian on both Lee and Elise. How do we finish out the bottom lane? FPX is saying Crisp on Miss Fortune again. That'd be easy.
I wasn't sure if he was going to go for the Leona or if he was going to go for the Nautilus. The Nautilus works really well against the Kalista because you've got this point-and-click CC and a gigantic hitbox on that hook, so you can start to lock down Kalista. Or even the Leona does the similar job, though, and that'll be taken towards Crisp.
But look at the Syndra locked in here for V5. Now, when they were flexing around with draft, this went to the bottom lane when it was Mole and Y4, and it was a really crazy lane. But we also know that CLX plays a lot of the Syndra, LeBlanc, Orianna. These are his trifecta of champions. And with the Syndra here in this game, maybe there's some hope that there can be a better laning phase here for V5.
And they're trying to remove things now for V5 that do well into the Syndra. The likes, well, at least from the mid lane perspective, the likes of the Silas, who can take the ultimate and send it back in your face, has the Kingslayer as well to heal up when that ultimate is popped. So they're just trying to take away a lot of these picks that CLX might struggle with if the Syndra's going mid.
While for FPX, banning away Max's support pool. They do not want to see what we saw in the last series from Vici, which is iBoy and Hung went towards the Taric and Kalista combo, right? What else goes well with Kalista here?
Thresh would be the other option. Thresh does pretty well. It's an obnoxious lane to deal with and can also work very well against the Leona because you can flare out. So that is going to be the last ban, which means it's more than likely going to be the Nautilus here locked in for Max. And again, keeping the flexibility that has been shown here in the draft open, but also leaving that counter pick for Mole if needs be.
I want to note that Mole's played Zoe top, and yet again, just because we see a Syndra doesn't mean necessarily in the mid lane here. And I like you mentioned that flexibility here in draft for V5, that's something they can play against on the side of FPX as well. Alistar locked in, not a pick we normally see here on the likes of Max, but FPX now solo lane time.
The Alistar just completely neutralizes bot lane. Essentially, whoever engages first loses because the other support goes on to the enemy AD carry. So this is just even Stevens for Max and Y4 in the bottom lane. And now we'll get to see what FPX decide to round out their composition with. Rumble, it looks like for Doinb in the mid lane, with the Aatrox potentially going to Con at the top.
Okay. I wanted to see that Camille, but that's okay. We get the Aatrox. It's like Gimgoon's here in spirit as well. Final pick, though. You can know what you're going up into in the solo lanes of FPX.
This is what we shouted out for in the last game. Mole potentially taking the Lucian into the top lane. It's something Mole's very comfortable on and can look to punish the likes of the Aatrox because you can dash around so much. But, okay.
Qiyana. Now, top lane Qiyana.
Flandre.
Yeah, I was about to say, shades of Flandre. The man who, you know, has played Malphite, Qiyana top, some crazy picks up in that lane. And again, we talked about Mole being a mid laner. He's flexible throughout his roles. And that also means his champion pool goes wherever he does.
Yeah, the Qiyana, though, will struggle against the Aatrox. You've got a little bit of dashing around that can help with the avoiding some of the Dark and Blade procs. But eventually you end up just in this situation where the Aatrox is able to trade so effectively into and heal up that those early levels can really be a struggle for the Qiyana.
But we've seen Flandre in that top lane a lot of the times just about roaming from the top, going and influencing another lane. And I see CLX in the mid lane with Syndra. I mentioned before that for V5, the most stable part of their map that game, in the first game, was CLX on the Silas. So it's good that maybe they're paying a bit more attention to him, maybe putting him on a pedestal when it's normally Mole on that same stool.
Well, if Mole can assist in the new mid laner and coming in, I think it could work wonders, especially with xiaohan on the Jarvan. That trifecta, the trio making their way in towards the mid lane can be super dangerous for Doinb. We'll have to see if they decide to make that play, though, or if it's just Mole trying to go, I'm going to 1v1 up here in the top lane. I want to try and make my stamp against Khan.
But then, hey, we got an FPX-style comp. Like, this is an FPX-style composition. I say that because you have yourself a Lee Sin and a Rumble again. Look at this. Do you want to go bot? Do you want to go top? FPX? I say we go bot. What do you reckon?
That's what I think as well. This is where I want to see how FPX play, and if Khan can play the same style of Gingoon. Be fine in the top lane, win it or lose it by yourself, but you're by yourself, while the rest of FPX can play down towards Lwx and Crisp on that bottom lane.
Because it will be a test here for Khan. Remember, he demands attention. In the past, has demand resources here for FPX.
And that's what I mean. Is this the comp where he doesn't? Can we see Khan take a step back?
No, because he has Electrocute as the top Aatrox.
Oh, okay.
So that's really testing the lane, isn't it?
So the way that Mole would like to play this lane is Qiyana is go for these quick trades, proc the Electrocute and back off, and then slowly try and whittle down Khan. But Khan is now matched with this, so these trades are going to go back and forth so quickly, but I still give this lane favor over to Khan.
I was just noticing the other runes as well. Doinb has opted in for Comet now. LPL Savants out there. We're going to have to pause. Khan is like, yeah, take that. Doinb has been taking a lot of Conqueror Rumble. Like a lot. Or Predator Rumble mid. He's been playing around with the rune set a little bit. It's interesting and rare to see him pick up Comet.
I prefer the Comet in this set, though. You're trying to push in the wave, get some poke down onto CLX, because the amount of damage that CLX can do just on Syndra as you approach the wave as Doinb is pretty damn high, so you need something to try and trade it back. And it's not like you've got multiple members that you can start to stack this Conqueror on when it comes to team fights. You're pretty much dealing with xiaohan or Max. They're not really the carries that you want to focus on.
CLX with the phase rush in his opposite end as well. Take note of the junglers here. Topside start here for xiaohan, and we're not splitting the map this time around. Pretty standard jungle path. So we're not going to get any shenanigans this early on. And with the Lee Sin towards the top side and with the lane pushed in means that, okay, Tian eventually moving bot.
And this is where they're going to try and set up for Doinb. They could potentially look for an early roam here. After this wave crashes, Doinb hits 2, can start to use the Flame Spitter to push out this wave, and then assist Khan in making things happen on the bottom side. But I think that's why we've seen xiaohan go for this clear down towards the bottom side, to try and stop any early game shenanigans from the FPX side. Also,
you can see a really nice ward around the Tri-Brush there. That's going to be spotting out Tian as he makes his way down there. Currently on the red buff, while for xiaohan pathing his way back up. He went buff to buff and now has the option of going towards top, which Khan is incredibly fastly shoving in. Or matching this, as you mentioned, shadowing Tian.
So Khan is trying to get this to crash because he's a bit worried about xiaohan.
Flag drag lands. That's the key thing here for xiaohan. As Tian now taking the engage. Look, there's a flash burnt here. Or rather, ignite from Crisp as Y4 is kiting his way back. xiaohan has to burn his own summoner. And Tian's still pushing in. That's not the place to back. This is a better place to back for now. There's Tian. Ooh, safeguard. No, he has to flash.
That could have been a hell of a lot worse. Max could have flashed in with the headbutt pulverized combo and knocked up Tian. Tian over-aggressing there. You were not going to get the kill underneath the tower, but here's the 4-man dive and roam that we were talking about.
Very much style of FPX. Max and Y4 underneath turret. Here comes the flash through. Great from Chris. Takes the first bit of turret aggro, and Tian comes in as well. Now balances around with Doinb, but Tian does not play it out perfectly. He didn't have the flash, so V5 fight back.
So 1 for 1 when all is said and done, but crucially, the kills went over towards Y4. This will set up Y4 to start getting those boots nice and early. And when we start to look towards these objectives, that's where both of these teams are really focusing on winning out. Having Doinb's equalizer alongside the bullet time to try and win out in those fights. But on V5's side, they're trying to get Mole ahead so then he can set up for these fantastic supreme display of talent.
When he's in the gap of vision as well until he's just been spotted out. Tian will see him over the wall. He goes here with the blast cone, but Tian very, very deep. That is not the play once again. I'm not sure. Stun from CLX. Doinb might be in a bit of trouble as well. A dodge away here from the Q as he fights back too, but second time here that Tian has been over-ambitious.
It's cost them pretty dearly now as well. If V5 can look to set up for this dragon that's about to spawn if they would like, especially since, okay, we've got a kill over towards Y4, now a kill onto xiaohan. We start these backs now, we can return to lane, get ourselves a nice buy off on the meantime, and set ourselves up for these big crucial team fights that we're talking about. Both these teams are pretty even when it comes to the team fighting prowess, because you've got big AoE ultimates between Doinb and Mole, but you've got to try and pick off members on the V5 side for CLX to set up and allow the double assassin combo to work.
What I noticed about this as well for the side of V5 is that when we talked coming into this about how V5 interact, well, the interactions weren't as harsh as this. Mole is behind 20 CS in this top lane. xiaohan with the earlier kill, now moving up towards the top side. Tian is matching well, but dead. Okay, that's what happens. Tian not there in the nick of time, and xiaohan picks up his second kill. Tian Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike, wants to take this, but safeguards out. And FPX, they're losing this early game.
TP will come in from Khan, which will force Mole back. The Mole will be able to recall and potentially come back in here. I'm watching where Doinb's moving because he's hiding underneath this turret, threatening a dive on FPX's side. But he now will be spotted, so Mole knows that he's safe to clear this wave.
Also, xiaohan's nearby as well, and he's level 5 to Tian's level 4. So important to note here that for V5, a much better start to the early game as mentioned before. And Mole roaming down there, capitalizes on Tian earlier in the top side. We saw that burst.
And this is why I'm surprised that V5 go for this split push or split map in the game number 1. Because xiaohan, if he's left to his own devices, is really good at responding to pressure on the map. He's quite intelligent with his pathing and when he makes calls. So I'm delighted to see now that V5, when they've put themselves in an even state in the early stages, xiaohan is doing a great job to beat out Tian in this jungle.
Really good recovery from game 1. When game 1 was such a stomp and xiaohan didn't get to play the game, it's impressive that V5 returned to the Rift with this. Especially since you look across multiple lanes, even with that CS disadvantage in the top lane, after they killed Khan, Mole's caught back up. He's got a double longsword, and this Qiyana is now level 6. Khan is as well, and you know that dueling is going to go better for him. Mole playing around vision. The control ward not going to do too much here. Khan looking for that final proc. Mole running out of mana. There is his supreme display of talent, but xiaohan is coming up here. Now Khan, World Ender, a little bit late than never. That'll get him out.
It's nice to see CLX coming back into this roster as well, because I feel like it sets up for a much stronger mid-jungle duo for V5. xiaohan and CLX both came over from Joy Dream, JDG's academy roster, and they were performing pretty well together on that team. So now we get to see them on the V5 roster and see if this can mix things up and create a bit more synergy for them in that mid lane.
Remember that we have seen xiaohan in the LPL before. He's been on JDG, you know, went to the main roster and played a couple of games there. So for xiaohan, it's not like he's fully inexperienced here. It's not like we're looking at a, you know, night versus day in junglers. And especially this game with Tian's earlier mistakes, xiaohan has showed that he knows how to capitalize. And he's capitalizing right now with the trade amongst objectives. But will be spotted out by Khan. Khan, who doesn't have the ult available, who's being supported by Max, while FPX will take the dragon trade.
This is something xiaohan does pretty regularly. Oh, CLX though.
Okay, but flash away from the equalizer. That's good here. For V5, they still survive the important thing. But Doinb has no ult in front of this objective, which is now taken. Max might be in a bit of trouble with Fate's call. Khan will not be able to pull him back in. V5 with the trade and objectives, one that can snowball this game quicker.
And this is... Oh, hang on. Crisp is hunting.
Okay, Zenith Blade, the flag and drag away. Tian now, where can he safeguard to? Because Max is looking for the engage, finds it on top of Crisp. Mole there as well, but no ulti available. Testing each other out here in the enemy jungle. Everyone back to safety.
So this is something xiaohan does pretty regularly, is try and trade the likes of the Dragon for the Rift Herald where the situation allows it. Makes the call there, and this time V5 are actually rotating quick enough to help out on that objective. This was something we saw them not do in the past, so V5 taking a step up this game.
through Mole, making his debut as a top laner here in 2020. Second game is a lot better though. So still behind, about 20 CS underneath Khan, but Serrated Dirk now picked up. A lot more kill threat, even with the Ninja Tabby in Khan's inventory.
Well, don't forget, the reason we saw Qiyana as a jungler was because her base stats are so high and that ultimate is so impactful that you don't need a huge amount of gold onto this champion to be useful. So Mole, even if he's behind on the Aatrox, can still have massive impact because of the supreme display of talent in the fight.
But also remember, like talking specifically about top lane, Y4, do it, baby. Let's go. On to Lwx. The heal's going to be burnt, takes a turret shot. But now here comes V5, the gank squad, and Revenge served cold here against FPX. Lwx gets sent upwards, excuse me, as the scatter the weak. And a good block here. xiaohan secures another kill. Equalizer comes down, but Doinb just doesn't have the damage. He has flash though. And now might actually be caught out. Teleport coming through from Mole. He can get over the wall. I think Doinb has the flash, and he does. Run away.
I'm confused, Aatrox. We talked about FPX being the four-man bot team. V5 have taken that medicine and turned it right back onto FPX.
And Tian might be caught out here as well. Mole has the ultimate flashed away from Tian. What the heck are FPX doing? Great for V5 here. But boy, oh boy, does this look like week one we saw when Khan was back in the roster.
But again, this isn't a Khan issue. This is FPX making strange
time, yeah.
calls. FPX, though, making moves. Equalizer is not available for Doinb.
Three-man solo play, Chris flashing in. That's the bullet time. Lwx trying to bring it back here for the world champions as Doinb now cornering off. Flash away from Mole to jump through Doinb, but the Sonic Wave connects and the flag and drag to get out of there. Meanwhile, CLX looks to scatter the weak is a moment too short. And FPX will get some kind of return.
V5 come up looking meek after that one. FPX still pushing in this top lane. So
nice,
because V5 couldn't get that bottom lane turret, it's now a trade up for FPX after the turnaround. Tower in the top lane, 2 plates for themselves in the bottom lane as well. And FPX, despite what looked a little bit of a mishap, have managed to swing it back.
But I'm still looking towards V5 and saying, you know, even after that, he's still in a decent position. You got a 3-0 Jarvan, you got Cinderhulk in inventory, you got a Kalista on Y4 who's pretty close to Blade of the Ruined King, despite being 20 CS down.
That's the problem. The CS levels in this game. Y4 is down, Mole is down, and that's why, despite the fact that V5 have the kill advantage and are trading somewhat evenly when it comes to turret plates, they're still down almost 1,000 gold in this game.
Y4, again, I'm just fascinated because for V5, it's not often you get to talk about them being in a position to either command or defend or at least be competitive, I should say. Y4 keeping up with Khan here, has been in solo lane for a while with these plates, and now is about to experience total turret destruction with the help of Doinb, but V5 are going to get it first.
And
So
V5 can turn towards the dragon as well. That's up in about 45 seconds. So this is where we'll start to see V5 come into their own. If they can all group up as 5 and force FPX into a team fight, there is a chance that V5 come out on top, depending on Mole's supreme display of talent.
30 seconds until we see that Mountain Drake contest. At least for V5, time to reset as they push the wave top and FPX do the same. Now, note as we go into this fight, Blade of the Ruined King has been picked up from Y4, but no Essence Reaver from Lwx. So we're at a point where V5 could be playing with stronger items here and might have a bit more power in their kit.
They still want to try and get flanks off in these fights though. If CLX and Mole can try and threaten the backline, the likelihood of V5 coming out ahead in this fight is far more likely. With FPX being in the river though and setting up vision right now, the flank potential becomes so much more difficult for V5.
I guess I should set it up with xiaohan is nowhere near, so they don't care. They actually just don't care about this dragon. They're going top. Plates are still available and they say let's get them. Tian is soloing this one away. And with an Infernal Rift coming up, FPX say good, and V5 say, give me gold. Let's give gold to Y4. Might be worth it.
So they're trying to give gold across, so both basically FPX are trying to trade the bottom lane turret for this top lane turret. I think what V5 are trying to do is take as much on this top lane turret as they can, fall back in towards the Rift Herald that's about to spawn, and while still keeping control of this mid lane. You can see Mole and Max are here to support in case any funny business comes across from FPX.
And we'll get the turret first in that bottom lane as well. While Y4 needs to wait for this next wave to come through. V5 is staying towards this top side for now. And that is because Rift Herald is spawning in under 20 seconds.
It was a bit of a risky call from V5. If Khan had stayed on that bottom side of the map, they might have been able to take that tier 2 tower and then force the recall from V5. But because FPX didn't try to push their advantage, now xiaohan has started up the Rift Herald. But look at the members of FPX. They're crawling their way across the map towards it.
Mong's trying to catch them as well, trying to get in position here as FPX move in slowly. Y4 is not with the rest of his team for now. And this big Kalista seems to be key to watch. V5
own the river though. This is why FPX are so scared of moving in here. We talked about Mole and CLX coming in on a flank. Especially when you've got a Jarvan there, the supreme display of talents have multiple walls that they can work with.
I love how it's an Infernal Rift, and a couple of those have also been taken out to note as well. So unlucky here for the side of Mole this game. He got the worst dragon for Qiyana, I guess. As Tian's going to start this one up, but it is on vision. And look, V5 just reset. Hang on. They reset.
I don't know why they reset. They've just given control over to FPX here. They had everything that they wanted. They're still going to look for the fight, though.
We'll see Calm because of the Q that came out. xiaohan walking in first. Chris nails him down, but Golden in the nick of time. Now look at where Mole is. You looked for that ulti. It hits one and it hits Tian. He's dead first as the bullet time comes through. Doinb helps challenge Mole, and FPX get the better kill here onto the top laner. I'll leave it undoubted question mark here. It's only a 1-for-1. V5 have mid.
V5 gave up control of the objective. Now they're trying to make...
Bates call onto Chris in the nick of time once again here as Lwx in position, but the Kalista now hitting away, exhausted onto Y4. Khan is chasing him a buff away from Max. Well, in the back line of FPX, Lwx has done his job, and Y4 is getting beaten here by Khan. Lwx kills the other AD, gets a shutdown, and V5 loses pretty much all.
V5 needed to threaten the backline as both Mole and CLX in these fights. Unfortunately though, Mole goes in aggressive over the wall into the pit, and CLX is waiting off on the side, unable to help out the top lane assassin. So FPX make clean work of Mole, and then with Equalizer still available for Doinb, can clean up the rest of the fight.
Alright, revisit this one again, because Y4 started it.
So here, Max was trying to get over onto Doinb to try and knock him back into the team. I think potentially using the flash there could have worked out, but the Equalizer was in such a beautiful spot that it probably wouldn't have even mattered if they got on to Doinb, because everyone was taking so much damage from that big ultimate on Doinb. And now, FPX have gotten control once again of this game, looking towards this mid lane turret.
And let's not forget, well, all elements of FPX were crumbling in this early game with a lot of question marks. Lwx has been the more consistent one. Survived a dive, got bullied around a little bit by V5, but has come out pretty damn good. Got the shutdown in that last fight. He's close towards an Infinity Edge second.
And if V5 are going to give up control of the objectives that they set up for, it makes it easier for FPX to take these fights.
Oh, Max, he's on the brink of death here after being called out, and he's dead. Soul Flare to slow down CLX, and Chris says, let's go. The flush away from the mid lane Syndra. FPX have 45 seconds until Dragon, and they've got a Rift Herald mid, so this is where the pace continues.
Every time you think V5 are starting to look competitive, they end up giving over a mistake to FPX. Max takes one step too far, and V5 are
over
punished.
the wall. They're starting this one. Great kick flash here from Tian. And Y4, the most fed member of V5, is now being caught out. And V5 as a unit have walked into danger. This game has turned around and V5 have lost any competitive edge. It looks like FPX are not slowing down anytime soon.
And this is the difference between the top teams in the LPL and our bottom teams. V5 get a lead, but they don't force the issue and try to accelerate. They don't take the vision that they have and pick people off with their composition.
Oh, are you going to escape? No, you're not. Mole over the wall. Will survive for now, but the teleport is cancelled. He tried to escape, and Khan with the 2-level lead, a 50 CS lead. Once again, mind you. Says bye-bye Mole. He'll run for his life. He'll survive this time. But this top lane Qiyana has not done too much.
And unfortunately now Mole has been sent back to base while the third dragon has spawned. This is going to be so a point now for FPX, and you start to feel the inevitable doom once again coming down on V5?
Well, V5 were looking towards this game and saying the potential's there for their second ever game win. Not series, but game win. And it's looking like FPX, to be real with you, are still in that same form. Now, we have a lot of questions for this World Championship team after that early game where Tian fell into some similar patterns that he did in week 1.
I think it's more FPX having a bit of fun with the series. You can see after closing out a game in 19.5 minutes, they're just like, look, let's try and and play around. But the second that they need to step down to business, this is what we start to see. Them swing it back in their favor. And a gold lead that was ever so slightly in favor of V5 is now 5,000 gold in favor of FPX.
At about the 20-minute mark, this is when the game ended last time here for FPX. And they're pushing the bottom once again. Creatures of habit. As V5, meanwhile, mid and jungle are towards the top side. Doinb's just backing away. They've been spotted out. FPX are like, what are you going to get? Nothing much.
And now it feels like Baron is up and available for FPX. With the composition that they have, they can take this fairly quickly, especially when they've been accelerated so much in the AD carry position. 5-1-5 for Lwx. Infinity Edge and Essence Reaper completed. They can shred through that objective.
Oh, Lwx on Miss Fortune. Name a better duo this split. It's been a pretty big split of Miss Fortune across the board, but Lwx has played a bucket load of this champion. Him, Hope, iBoy, Puff hasn't really played it. I'm trying to name other top 80 carriers. Just pause a second because Chris actually might be called out. Good hit for V5, but how far do they want to commit? Chris doesn't die. The ultimate use as Mole comes in for the flank on Lwx with the ulti. Base call use as well, but CLX dies the backline of Tian, and now Doinb jumps in. Oh no, V5, they really picked a good play. But again, so far behind, how hard is it to find success? 3 for 1. FPX going to make that 4. Doinb runs at Y4. Hop away until you can't anymore. A double here for Doinb. FPX head towards Baron.
And they will easily pick up this objective. xiaohan is alive, but won't even attempt the steal in this case. And V5, at least we've seen some shining lights. We've seen, hey look, if they can get themselves going in the early game and xiaohan is allowed to play his style of game, he can help get V5 ahead. Now they've got to look towards the next step, though. Keep an eye on their mid game and understand how they can play towards these objectives and not give teams like FPX the opportunity to come back and take objectives they have no right to in taking.
Because even though for V5 I look at this team, we're going to pause because CLX is probably just dead here. Hello, Khan. But even though V5, like as a team, right now it looks like no playoffs for you. They're going to be 0-9 after this series if this game 2 keeps tracking.
And they've got IG and RNG still to play.
Right,
this
that's right.
well.
Like RNG Wednesday, IG Friday. And how do you deal with that? Khan says it's world ender time and Mole walks in willingly. At this point, V5, I just don't know what to say. Tian, of course he's going to land this onto xiaohan, but he doesn't get into the base to get the reverse kick. And back to Baron. We could bait it again. We can get more kills, says FPX. That's what they've been doing all game long.
This time I think they'll be able to take it for themselves. V5 have decided we are sick of dying in and around this pit. They're going to try and get their bottom lane Wade in control instead.
But what do you do? Like, as a team like V5, at this point in time, what do you do? You're 0-8, about to be 0-9. You have one individual game win against LNG.
You look for something.
Well, no, I look... Well, here's the discussion. Is that for V5, it's about finding that dynamic now. Yeah, for summer. But it's not about looking forward yet. It's about finding what works for you. And with V5, what worked for them were crazy drafts. That's what I loved about this team, is that people like Y4 would change up and play Bard, would see a fasting bottom lane. CLX would go to mid when Mole was meant to be in the position. Crazy stuff works for this team, and that was their unique identity.
Well, I think even now, if we look at this roster we have in front of us, as of this game, we've seen improvements in it. CLX is looking a lot stronger in the mid lane. xiaohan is putting on a good performance in this game as well.
Yeah.
And I think that this is where they start to build from there. Okay, early game, if we forget about the level 2 dives and we forget about these set plays that we're trying to go for with splitting the map and just play a standard game, V5 looked like they can actually take some of these early games. So you got that under control for V5. right, let's look at how we control these objectives. Why are we backing when Rift Herald is up and we've just gotten control of that objective and giving FPX time to take it down? These are the issues V5 need to shore up, and they can still use their games in the LPL spring to try and fix that in time for summer.
Well, Y4, I think you're just going to lose while your team's defending top. There's 4 people here. Alex is dead from the equalizer, and Lwx flashes forward because Miss Fortune is the fast. And it's deja vu all over again here for FPX, or at least for V5, I should say. Y4 did the dragon. But second inhibitor going down, and Y4 knows it's time for the game. He's trying to hop and skip and jump away, but now he goes down as well. Wait for it. He's dead too. Into the base. Tian will die. Okay. Also gets Doinb because of the turret, but Lwx is still here. This series was a 40-minute stomp. And welcome back to Khan, but also FPX's run continues here in 3rd place.
As you said, a sub 50-minute entirety of this series
40-minute, yeah.
is insane. 19.5 minutes in the first one, 25 minutes there. This is insane performance from FPX, but again, V5 struggling to find themselves a win in the LPL.
I mean, I brought up the conversation for V5 because at the end of the day, like, I really liked the style we saw against LNG. That was their best series against LNG by far. That was the most fun series to watch V5, and I remember talking about it, I believe it was casting with Lyric at the time, where it was like, V5, with their own identity, can actually pave a way in the LPL. But right now, they look so much further down than any other team. Even teams like LGD, I guess Rogue Warriors, if we're talking the bottom of the table. I'm trying to think who else is there. Looking behind, like even DMO, right? Or BLG in their current form.
Yeah.
They all look a step above V5. And V5 look like they don't challenge any team in any way, apart from that LNG series. You talked about the early game lead. It was better to see V5 there, but we've seen that before and it hasn't transitioned to anything. So I guess I'm harping on a lot about V5. I'm ragging on a little bit. It was good to see FPX in the same form, even against a weaker team, that consistency. The early game of Game 2 is the only thing we take out of that. But apart from that, some really big performances here from FPX, right?
I think as well, even falling behind early and FPX being able to bring it back so cleanly says a lot about this team and how dominant they are in their play. Even from a position where they're behind, they know how to take the game a little bit slower and force themselves back into a gold lead.
Well, Doinb got his Rumble once again, and part of that was his equalizers coming through pretty nicely there. But Lwx and Crisp, this time around, they decided it was their lane to win and their time to shine, and shine they did. So 2 quick games here for FPX, another 2-0 on the board. Let's talk strength of schedule coming up because this is like a warm-up for FPX. Top Esports is coming on Saturday, LNG next week, and then Vici Gaming, who Vici took down RNG. So Vici against top teams have the potential to upset. This for FPX is a really good run, and their ability to still get first is there. They may have lost to eStar and IG earlier in the split, but if they keep going forward, and if IG take a loss, FPX can secure first once again.
And I think that's what FPX are going to be looking to try and do, is see if they can find some sort of upset in the ether that can take Invictus Gaming down one step. Even eStar as well down a step. These are still teams that you can look and go, okay, I can pick out 1 or 2 points where we can start to knock a hole into this squad.
Because if FPX show any signs of weakness, it's like, okay, well sometimes, you know, with Khan in the roster, it's like, sometimes we can attack bot if you're the enemy team, right? But then Tian always makes his way down there at some point anyway. So it is good to see also, just on that side note, a comp that supports the bottom lane of FPX again. It's been a while since we've kind of seen that, especially with Khan on the roster.
Well, that was the one that stood out to me here, was that we can have Khan play the Gimgoon style in this game.
Yeah.
Khan wasn't getting the resources. He was teleporting down to try and help out in the plays and wasn't taking an awful lot of attention. And that was the big argument a lot of people had for Khan coming into this, was Khan needs resources. I think this game shows that Khan doesn't need resources, but still FPX like to mess about sometimes.
A diverse play style with Khan going for full carry game 1, and then game 2 sitting back a little bit there as well. Note again, V5 coming up, RNG, IG. They're going to absolutely run into the best of the best this week. So a bit of a challenge for them. If I had to look at one player, you're right, xiaohan, I think, you know, had a pretty good game too. Really came into fruition and capitalized big on FPX with those early errors. But that's FPX for you, right? 8-2 now, and they're definitely the top 3.
100%.
And people are still saying, even with their loss against eStar in week 1, they're still the best team in the LPL. Now, that's to be disputed, because eStar are currently there, but...
I think between Invictus Gaming, eStar, and FPX, you've made a lot of enemies with that call, but we will see who will eventually come out on top. That's what playoffs are for, but we still got a long way to go before we hit that.
Well, technically not. We got
well, actually,
this
yeah,
week,
now that I say it, yeah.
Week 6, week 7. We got 3 weeks left of LPL.
Jesus, this LPL has gone by fast.
I mean, that's what happens when you condense all that into 7 weeks.
Series
11 weeks into 7, so... this is like really steamrolling ahead, I should say. And here in week 5, like we've got another couple of match of the weeks again as well. Don't forget. After this, we are going into JDG and Suning. That is our e-commerce war and also match of the week, I believe. But also later on in the week, like RNG, IG. We got some really gung-ho series, right? Like top esports and FPX on Saturday. Yeah. I look forward to that. That should be a really good one.
Yeah, there's a couple of matches that I'm still very much looking forward to seeing. I want to see how RNG can come back as well, because they had a game yesterday where they looked a little bit shaky, but then xiaohan just comes out and looks amazing. So I want to see what they can do in their further games, if it's all going to come back to xiaohan, or they can start to shore up some of the issues that they do have.
Well, FPX and RNG, 2 top teams. We're looking at FPX here, and we're looking at Lwx here for our Game 2 MVP on the Miss Fortune. And, yep, that pretty much sums it to 10-2 and 9 here to finish off the series.
And a second MVP picked up for Lwx as well. It's going to be tough in a team when you've got all these names to pick up the MVP counts, but definitely well earned by Lwx in this game.
Yeah, the fingers point towards the brain. Big brain plays here for the AD carry, and it's rare to give Lwx an MVP. As you can see, that is his second. Normally goes to the like of Doinb. Doinb's on like 9 at the moment. Tian's on like 4. Oh, I think Tian's actually on a low count.
Tian's got a... Yeah,
like
I
3
think
or
it's
4,
3, yeah.
Which is low for FPX standards, and then Khan picks up 1 in the last game. So kind of excited to see where we go with FPX. Remember that, we're going